Welcome to 2025, y'all. I mean, I know I posted a video already, but this is the first one that I'm filming in 2025. Just a battery. I hope you're charged. We're gonna be trying new makeup in today's video. We haven't done that in a while. The releases have been slow, but the fashion houses are the ones that are like still on the ball, or maybe just ignoring the fact that people's buying habits are changing. But regardless, they're the ones that are cranking stuff out on a normal schedule right now. So today we're going to be working with, I don't know if this is in order, but I got this. This is the new, nope, not even gonna try the French, multi-use eyeshadow and highlighter palette from Chanel. I already tried this because it is deceptive looking. It actually works better as a face palette than I expected it to for all of that shimmer. I bought 3 Valentine's-y colored eyeshadow palettes. I got 2 quads and then I got the new NARS 9 pan, but the Dolce & Gabbana one hasn't come yet because Nordstrom would rather send me a bucket of samples than my actual order. And so we're going to be trying them individually before I compare them. So I have this that I'm very excited about because you know that this formula made it into my best of the best at the end of the year. I just haven't cracked into this new colorway yet. So this is the Couture Mini Clutch in 125. I don't know what the name of it is because they don't put it on there, but it's very Valentine's-y. And I did wait to touch into this just so that y'all could see how cute the little, it's not an embossing, it's just like a printing on the top there. But regardless, we're gonna be ruining that today. I also got a release that I feel like flew under the radar a little bit. I don't know how long these have been out, but I have never tried them before. And Cole sent me their lookbook on Shop My Shelf and they were like, pick some stuff out. And I was like, y'all have liquid eyeshadows? So they have the Lid Joy Liquid Matte Eyeshadow. I got 3 shades. One of them is like kind of a goldenrod yellow. That's not gonna come in useful today, but I mean, the colors are the colors of the letters there, like on the label. So it's kind of a brown and then like a lighter sienna color. And then we'll probably reach for some other stuff just to kind of like mix it up. But I also wanted to probably end up using these today. I know, I warned y'all up front. I'm gonna be hammering this home because Thrive made my favorite color of lip liner that I have loved forever and ever and ever, that is named after me, into a lip gloss because I asked them to. So this is not a collab in the sense that I'm getting some kind of cut of the sales. I'm just getting, you know, affiliate revenue just like any creator would who would, you know, post at a link. So it's like, it's not about that. It's just that I'm super stoked on them. I've gotten such awesome feedback from y'all about these, and I think that it's exciting because it's not going anywhere. All of my collabs just go poof, you know what I mean? And there's nothing I can do about it. This is permanent and that makes me really happy. So I'll be showing this to y'all in action today and we'll just be catching up on life. So let's go ahead and jump in. I have skin prep on. We're going to go in with a Chanel foundation because it's just what I want to use today. There's something about when I have Chanel on hand, it makes me want to reach for more Chanel things because I'm like, ooh, the experience. But like, they can kill the fantasy pretty fast because it's so expensive that you have to kind of be swept up in the fantasy for Chanel to be worth it, quote unquote. And they're kind of losing me, you know? I don't want to say they're in their flop era. They might be kind of in their flop era. I think they're kind of moving into their flop era. I'm not gonna lie. The last really cool thing that they did was put out that fall duo of eyeshadows. There was like the mauve and the coral, and they sold out really, really stinking fast, at least in the US. And that was fall 2 years ago. That was fall 2023, and it was so good. But like, it's a case of why, again, are we like forcing even a fashion house to continue to iterate and try and pretend that things are exciting when they don't have new ideas? We should just be talking about the really, really stellar formulas that already exist. Their foundations have never disappointed me. This is the Sublimage L'Essence de Temps. I used up my Sublimage Le Temps. I love these formulas because they're really, really hydrating, especially when my skin is wintry like it is right now. I, though, have been pleasantly surprised to the tune of lots and lots of money that I didn't have to spend. I have been pleasantly surprised that the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream has been alleviating any need that I might have for buying the Triple Lipid Restore 242 from SkinCeuticals. That is like, they just keep cranking the price up. It's like $150 to $155 a jar or something right now. Like, that used to be the only thing that I could possibly use in the winter because my skin was so dry. But now I'm using the Ultra Repair Cream, which is not expensive by comparison, like, you know, by orders of magnitude. And then also I had another tube of the Dr. Jart Ceramidin, you know, just the regular original Ceramidin, and I started using that. I was like, God, this stuff is just great. I had so much perioral dermatitis over the course of last winter that I didn't get to really try a lot of things. I was just refraining from using moisturizer as much as possible. I'm using the Tom Ford right now. I love this and I never get a chance to use it because it wasn't new when I bought it, and so I was like, when do I talk about this? But I really like it. So I have this in the shade Shell. By the way, the First Aid Beauty is why I don't have perioral dermatitis anymore. I basically use it like medicine on my skin. It keeps all of it at bay. It's awesome. I'm able to, you know, go back to using actives and stuff like that because it makes my perioral dermatitis go away and stay away. So the ceramidin is so funny. I forgot how like blurring it is, and it's like you don't really think about a moisturizer that you're wearing like overnight as being, who cares what it looks like as long as it works kind of thing. But it actually makes me feel more confident in my skin when I put it on because it's like, it's blurring. It looks better. I like put it on, I'm like, oh yeah, that really like obscures a lot of like the redness and stuff like that. And it actually keeps me from like picking at my face or like examining it too closely, which is really helpful for me because anything I can do to keep away from that cycle of picking, I'm here for. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of contour, but it's gonna be a really gentle, not too cool toned contour. I'm gonna use the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick in Fair. This is the lightest shade that he came out with, and it works pretty well as a contour for me that isn't, I should say it helps me keep my complexion low contrast. If I put on something that's a little bit too severe, then I've boxed myself into a corner where it's like I have to build up the contrast everywhere. So this will start us out slow. Hourglass also, I talk about this all the time with Hourglass, but I'm always like, I know that they're gonna send me the new release. They're just gonna send it to me so late and I don't know why. And it happened again. Where are they? They sent me separately, like, you know, like a month apart from each other or something. They sent the Dragon palette. This is, you know, long after it's sold out, at least on Sephora. And then they later, recently, sent me, this was the packaging that I wanted. I mean, obviously. But this is the Evil Eye palette. And it is, whoa, it's so pink. It's so pink. And I will find use for these, but like, it's kind of silly to talk about something that you can't get anymore, especially in terms of a review. Like, it's great. It's sold out, you know? Like, I don't know why they send me stuff so late. I like that they send it to me, but this is, it's getting a little silly. Any hoodles. We're gonna go in with one of the Hourglass brushes that they sent me because each of the PR packages came with a brush set. So, updates on my life, because I feel like as we've entered 2025, everybody can feel the winds of change. There's like, I think there are 5 planets changing signs this year, and Pluto just changed signs right before the new year, and it's like basically emptying out everything in everybody's lives. So if you're feeling that right now, you're not alone. I have been watching a lot of other signs other than my own, kind of forecasts and stuff like that from some of the astrologers that I like, and honestly, like, everybody's got the same thing. It's just like, empty it out, get rid of what no longer serves you, let go because everything is going to change. And I'm just like, as someone who's ruled by Mars, of course I'm like really into change, but at the same time, there were things that I really didn't want to change that already changed, and I'm not a big fan of it. So y'all probably saw on my Instagram, I was just like not doing well. I was like crying and stuff, and it's just been a lot of that over the last year. And I just wanted to let y'all know because I just didn't want to bum anybody out while it was still happening, while I was still going through the stages of grief and everything. But me and my boyfriend did break up. And like a lot of people saw, like, you know, I would talk about him, or I would talk about like, you know, the funny things he did and stuff on my channel. People were like, oh my God, it seems like you found your soulmate. And I'm like, I really think that I did, but I'm gonna turn red. Yeah, I'm gonna turn red talking about this. And I'm just now to the point where it's like, I'm not gonna get emotional, but there are just things that happen that are outside of your control. You can do the best that you can, and it becomes something that the other person has to take care of. So it's not that there was something wrong with our relationship. I do believe, you know, I met at least a soulmate because he's just wonderful. He's a wonderful human being, and we like click on every single level, but due to the times in our lives that we are in, both of us coming out of divorces and things like that, there are just processes that we have to go through on our own. And so I have no idea if anything is in the future for us or whatever, but I am currently single. I just wanted to let y'all know because there are people kind of commenting being like, you'll refer to him sometimes, and I do feel like I owe y'all truth instead of being, I don't know, instead of being weird. I don't want to be weird, just like pretend that it doesn't exist. But I mean, we have been in the process of breaking up for the last 2 months. So I was really, really sad. I am getting better. I am coping with it. And then I texted Rebecca last night. I was like, I just Googled the stages of grief, and I want to issue an apology to you for making you hold my hand through all of this. And she's like, we're best friends. Like, literally, like, don't ever apologize. And I was like, still, I just can't believe how textbook every stage of grief is, where I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I did that, and then I did that. Oh, and then I did, oh, okay, wow. All right, you know, like you realize that all of these things that you thought you were going through is like, oh my God, no one's ever gone through this in their entire lives. I'm the first one. It's like, no, it's actually like a scientifically documented process, and you're just normal. I'm gonna throw in some bronzer. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to do. Look at me all speckled. Clearly, this is not an unemotional thing to talk about. I'm just gonna use some Gucci, I think, because we're staying in this like pale territory. I'm gonna use another one of these Hourglass brushes that they sent me. I would love, I mean, if anybody wants to share in the comments, obviously if it's too personal, do not feel like you have to. But I think that, like I said, like one of the biggest things is realizing that you're not the first person that this has happened to. Like, I have never had to break up with someone or endure a breakup with someone because of their mental health before. And so that's been very, very new to me, because I am very accustomed to handling my mental health challenges, and I have kind of all the tools and resources to do that. And so I'm like, I should be able to help somebody else do that too. Obviously, I've trod these roads a million times, but it's like there are so many things that people have to do for themselves in order to like get their feet under them. And in my case, it's really hard for me sometimes to like let go of control of that, because it's like, I just want to help, I just want to help, I just want to help. And it's like, there are things that you just have to be patient about, because people have to do them on their own. So anyway, if y'all have, especially because cosmically this kind of stuff I think is pretty prevalent right now, if y'all have stuff going on in your life, good, bad, otherwise, that you feel like it would help somebody else to share, like, you know, the flushing out and the changing and everything, or even like a retrospective story from your life where you're like, yeah, that happened to me, but also this happened and it was really good in the long run, or whatever, I welcome that in the comments, because I think we could all use it. Let's play with something new. So I have this here. I'm also gonna continue with this brush just because I feel like it's meant for the Hourglass palettes, and so it goes really well with this. In terms of comparing this with the Hourglass palettes, obviously we don't have anything that's like quote unquote intended to be a blush. There's nothing that looks like one of those swirled baked. I'm just gonna show it to you because I cannot make words apparently. You see how that's swirled baked blush, or like Allie, you know, the Revie Beauty or the Kosas ones or whatever. There's none of that in this. I started to try and use it on my eyes because they say that it's like a multi-use eye, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this does not show up on my eyes. It's not like a Hindash highlighter, the way that as soon as you dip a brush into it, it just spreads magic wherever it goes, and it's very visible and very pretty, but at the same time, like very subtle. This is almost so subtle that it just looks natural no matter what, but it does have color to it. And I think that it is actually more of a face palette than it is an eye palette, even though, like I said, it appears to be so shimmery. So I'm gonna start with just the blush color here. This is like the blushiest one, I think. You know, out of all of them, they're all so subtle. So it's kind of pinky, and it's so stinking pretty. So freaking pretty. Look at that. I was prepared to, I don't know, not be unimpressed, but to find this a little bit silly, just because I was like, that is an enormous 4 pans of highlighter. But I just wanted to know. That's the thing about Chanel, is they always have me because I just want to know. And I must say, I am pleased with this. Like, it's really, really lovely. I'm not getting shimmer, you know, I'm just getting blur, and it's so pretty. So I probably will put a like blush on top of it once we decide kind of where we're going with like temperature and color choices and stuff. But I'm gonna take a little bit of one of the more highlighter-y shades, like one of these kind of, what do you think? Like the gold one? Let's try the gold one. And I'm gonna use it properly, like as a highlight. Yeah. Because it's so smoothing on the skin and it's so lightweight, it really does remind me of an Hourglass highlighter in that sense. So I think that what's really great about them is that you cannot overdo it, really, because they don't have glitter in them or anything. The gold might have a little bit of glitter in it. I haven't used that one yet because it's just not a color that I feel like is super synchronous with my complexion. It just doesn't look like, oh yeah, throw that on. I think that sometimes brands need to put out 2 colorways in something in their attempts to cater to more than one skin tone, because what they've done here I feel like is try and please too many people. I can use that on my eyes, but like it also is so baked and so finely milled, and yes, that does have a tiny bit of actual glittery shimmer to it, that I just don't really feel like it picks up very well on a brush. If I'm gonna use a gold shadow, that's not the one that I'm reaching for. But look how beautiful that is. I feel like I could continue to layer it as well. Before we start in on the eyeshadow, I just want to kind of use this pale cool one here. It's kind of a taupey silver color, and base my eyes with that, because it's just going to blur everything and get me just a little bit of coverage that evens everything out to the same texture before I start going with other things. Now, does this have a face powder in it? No, it never claimed to, but the Hourglass palettes tend to, so por ejemplo. This one, even being as bright as it is for me, I can still get a lot of use out of this little shade right here, because it's a great little in-betweeny blurring shade for like my concealer and stuff like that. I just love the texture, you know, it's that ethereal texture that you get. We're gonna start in, I'm gonna swatch these real quick. So these are the Amiga Cole Lid Joy Liquid Matte Eyeshadows. On first blanch, I do not like this packaging. It feels like a lab sample. I'm not mad at the delivery system per se. I just feel like a white package like that, it just feels like a lab sample. I don't feel like I'm getting like a finished product. It's a really lightweight formula, really, really thin, and it does dry down to like budge proof, which we love to see, but it's also very common to get that in a liquid eyeshadow. It's kind of the point. So this shade is Harlem, and you might be looking at that if you are familiar with, you know, the things we've been talking about on my channel lately and say, well, that looks like Bobbi Brown Cinnamon, which made it to my best of the year, and you would be correct. They are very, very similar to one another. Like you blend them out and they are virtually indistinguishable from one another. So if you love Bobbi Brown Cinnamon, you do not need this, but I'm gonna review the formula anyway. And then we have the shade Bed-Stuy, and it is a beautiful warm brown that is still kind of in that same family. Still, it kind of looks like when you take cinnamon and you build it up. Ah, that's actually really funny. So Bed-Stuy looks like if you don't blend cinnamon, and Harlem looks like when you do. I tried something different on my eyes when I was like testing this look out, because I knew that I wasn't gonna wanna dip into this until I got on camera. And so I actually haven't tried these yet. So let's start with the lighter shade. I'm gonna see if they layer, but we will be going in with the YSL regardless. So using a little bit of that on the back of my hand. I'm going to grab a little bit of that on a brush here. I find that this shape is really ideal for cream shadows and for liquid shadows on a synthetic brush. So this is the A501 from BK Beauty. I'm just gonna build. Ooh, we are, you know, we're pigmented. I like that. See how much we can get out of it before it dries down. I don't find liquid shadows to be the most useful delivery system. I would far rather, if I'm not gonna have a powder, I'd actually prefer over a powder even, to have an eyeshadow stick, you know? I just think that they're much, much more intuitive and much quicker, much easier, and more forgiving, because like once this is down, if you don't blend it in time, in theory, it's going to dry down wherever it is. But I did have a little bit of like complexion product underneath here, and I think that that is helping it stay malleable a little bit longer. And it's a beautiful color. Obviously, I was going to love the color because it is so comparable to my favorite, which is the Bobbi Brown Cinnamon. And then I do want to take, this is the LH Cosmetics 304, and I'm just gonna use very, very little of Bed-Stuy here and see how it builds on itself, because that was one of the challenges that I had with the Lisa Eldridge liquid shadows. I mean, I love her liquid Lorax and I like the liquid silk. Good news, the random battery sitting on my desk was charged. So thank you, past Kackie. And thank you, current dog. Thank you so much, current dog. Anyway, as I was saying, the liquid silk shadows from Lisa Eldridge are beautiful, but they didn't layer particularly well. They just freeze up so hard that it's hard to get anything then to go on top of it. So that was the reason that they didn't really make it into heavy rotation for me. But that is Harlem and Bed-Stuy. And I think that that is beautiful. I could throw a glitter on my lid and call it a day. That would be perfectly fine with me. But we are in the business of testing makeup. So maybe to our detriment, we're gonna keep putting eyeshadow on. So I like those, but like I said, you can get both of those colors from the Bobbi Brown eyeshadow stick if you just blend them to different, I don't know, opacity levels. And that's why we play the game. That's why I have a channel, is to be able to show you all those kinds of things. Okay, we're just gonna swatch these and piss everybody off real quick, because get one last look. I guess it is technically an embossing, kind of. I feel like they're just little drawings. There we go. Ooh. Yep. Take it in. They are embossings. I'm the least ceremonious person in the world about an embossing. Like, I am never like, oh, makeup is sacred, I can't touch it. I'm like, use it. Okay, so these are decidedly purple. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh raggy. Okay, so I do love a Valentine's colorway. I do. I love a pink, I love a purple, I love a red, I love a white, I love candy, I love Valentine's Day. But I am going to proceed with caution here, because again, we haven't really chosen what color we're going with on my whole face yet. So we're gonna let this dictate that, but I still don't want her to completely take the wheel. So I'm gonna start with this lovely little beige shade. And if you are new here, hello, hi. This is one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas that I have discovered. Well, honestly, it's one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas ever, but I've discovered it over the last year because I bought two of them and I got another one as a gift, and I think that they are beautiful, but I've never tried these colors before. I think we have to dip into that purple and put it in the crease. That's just how it's gonna be, because this is the palette that we're testing, right? So, what have I been doing with myself lately? Because I think that it's really hard to be told by the universe, right? It's like, hey, there's just gonna be the absence of a thing. And you're going to need to now adjust all of your routines so that you're not just retracing your steps on what's missing all the time. So what did I do? That's really pretty. I have been getting back into like learning about art. And honestly, as soon as I started deciding to be curious about that, other things started to pique my curiosity too. So I don't know if y'all saw my Instagram, but I got myself into the most wackadoodle position in yoga last Friday, Destroyer of the Universe pose. And it was really cool because he calls it wall time. And it's just when we take our mats to the wall at the end of, there's like an extra 15 minutes at the end of practice on Fridays where we just kind of get to try things, right? And it's like safe and we're spotted and stuff. Why does that look so bad on camera and looks completely normal in person? Like that splotch is just not really that apparent. It's actually mostly the socket of my eye that is doing that, not the shadow itself. That's really weird. Nonetheless, he mentioned something, he showed us a bunch of variations on whatever side plank is called. I guess we're gonna go with this rosy color here. So he was like, and if you're feeling fancy, you can throw your foot behind your head. You can just throw your leg behind your head. And I was like, I can do that. And he was like, oh, I was kidding. And I was like, well, but I can do that. And he was like, well, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And I eventually got myself into this incredible pose that I would never have thought, well, I would never have conceived of it in the first place, because I would have thought I would have been hospitalized, but it actually went really well. And it was weird because it's like, once you get your foot behind your head, you kind of forget that it's there. It's like out of sight, out of mind. And then it becomes kind of part of your center of gravity on your torso. And so I felt like I could do anything. I was just like, well, it's back there. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna stay there. Let's just see what we can do. And so I got into this like side plank version of that. And after class, I got the photos from my yoga instructor, and he was talking about how it's actually a pose that's part of series 3 of Ashtanga yoga, which he does teach, but we are in such like a small area. They don't have like an ongoing class of it because there's just not enough demand. But my friend Nina, who owns Red Vintage Co., which y'all probably know, you see her on my Instagram all the time because it's like the only place I buy my vintage stuff from. So Nina is also an Ashtanga teacher, and I'm like, hey Nina, if like I wanted to have a really punishing daily discipline of, getting into Ashtanga on my own, how would one go about that kind of thing? So I'm getting curious about a lot of things. I'm just gonna go for this. I'm just gonna go for the shimmer. It really looks like it's gonna fall out, but I do trust this formula. And do not fear this palette. This is so pretty. All of these shades look like they're going to be so wild, and like that's flipping gorgeous and so wearable. YSL, once again, I'm very surprised at how subtle that is on the skin compared to how it looks in the pan. And I also think that I'm being very, very gentle with it. And that means that someone with deep skin could really get a look out of this too. Like you would really get a good amount of punch out of that. So anyway, yeah, I'm thinking about maybe, you know, starting to look into Ashtanga, just, you know, again, to have like a daily punishing discipline. And I'm also like really getting back into learning about art history, and not even art history, like contemporary art. So I subscribe to a bunch of periodicals. I subscribe to Aesthetica, New American Paintings, and I bought the last 4 issues because they don't do a subscription anymore, but I bought the last 4 issues of the Quarterly of Juxtapose, which I love. And then I bought a bunch of Yayoi Kusama's books, and she is kind of exactly where I need to be right now. She is this really, really renowned and well-known Japanese artist who checked herself into a mental facility quite a long time ago, and that's where she lives, and she just like commutes to her studio to create and goes back there, but she's just like kind of always been deeply troubled. I'm reading her autobiography right now. Her art is really bright, her art is really hopeful, and all of her like thoughts and going into her paintings are really bright and really hopeful. And I'm just like, I love this, again, juxtaposition, this balance between being constantly fighting with depression and still trying to always seek joy and love in your life. And it's like, that's exactly where I'm at. So I've been buying art books. I have been, you know, I bought a class that I'm gonna take online. I just haven't gotten a chance to do it yet. And if y'all are interested in my art account, I will link it below. I'll put the handle on the screen. So, okay, YSL, that could have gone really, really poorly for us, and it didn't. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit with a little bit of like the Kosas powder, just because, you know, it got a little everywhere between all the layers, but I'm really impressed and pleased with how user-friendly that is. It could have been a flop. The way that they, I don't know, you know what I mean? There's theme and variation, and eventually it doesn't always prove out, but I really feel like they're still putting the attention towards the details in there, and it is reflected in something that's very easy to use, just like all of their quads. And I didn't show y'all, did I show y'all this? This is the outside packaging. It's so pretty. It's blue to pink. It really looks like all my thumbnails. Ah! Maybe that's why it appealed to me. That's the gradient that I use on most of my thumbnails, is a blue to pink. I just think it looks best with like my skin tone and stuff. So anyway, I think this is lovely. These are not inexpensive. So I do take it seriously whether or not it's actually really good. And if you like this formula and you are excited about this colorway and this packaging, I will say, like, that's awesome. It really does stand up to what you would expect from it. Now, even though I do feel like the eyes are gonna be the star, so I don't necessarily think that we need to build up a bunch of other things. I do still feel like we need a little bit of blush, but I don't want it to look clowny. Hey, look at that! My lovely, lovely bestie Natalie told me that this new, she said it was new. I don't know. I don't know if it is, but I think it is. Impassioned from NARS came out, and she's like, you have to buy it. And look at that. It goes really, really beautifully. Let's use something, yes, very soft and wonderful here. So this is the Surratt brush that I did not pay for because it's like $280. They sent this to me a while back, but it is lovely. And what I'm gonna do here is just add opacity essentially to the color profile that we already have going on, because the issue, right, is not that there's not enough color, but it's that there is this really beautiful texture that we kind of want to draw attention to the shimmer, the blur, you know, the reflectiveness versus something that actually contains the local color. Local color being like, oh, I want to recognize that as a beautiful muted mauve. Just a tippity touch of that. I may live to regret that. You know, we live, we learn, live, laugh, love. I'm going to put on some brows and some eyeliner and some mascara, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna put on the Thrive lip liner and the Thrive lip gloss, and then we'll run some diagnostics and see if there are any other things that we wanna do. My brows brows to kind of set before I go through them with like a clear brow gel. Let's go in with my lip liner. This is, I mean, this is not new. In fact, this is not even a freshly opened one. I don't know how old this is, but they're my lips. The story here is that, oh, by the way, I like was a little concerned. I was like, oh, as far as the color story goes, like my nails are not going with all of this. I wish that my nails were a different color for this video. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. Oh, it all goes together. That makes me really happy. Okay, anyway, this was a case of, on my channel, Thrive Cosmetics was the first brand that I ever reviewed, and it was this mascara that I still use to this day because it is my favorite mascara. That was also when Thrive was just starting, basically. They had a few products at that point, and they had this beautiful lip liner formula, but I also had this L'Oreal lip liner color that I loved that was like disappearing. Like I just couldn't find it anywhere. It was called Toffee to Be. But in a video I jokingly was like, hey, can we get this beautiful lip liner formula in a brown, in like a mocha brown, like light brown or whatever. And then I was like jokingly, because they name all of their stuff after women, you know, I was like, you know, you could name it after me. When I went to visit them one time out in LA, they had like a prototype of it for me to try, and I was like, this is amazing. And then I didn't hear anything about it for a really long time. And then they invited me to like a creator event that ended up just being a party for me. Like a surprise to unveil this lip liner, and I was just so floored. And also it continues to be, I mean, look at it, like the best color of lip liner ever. And so then I texted Carissa because years have gone by and she and I are very good friends now. And I was like, hey, you know, can we get my Kackie lip liner color in your incredible lip gloss? Because I was just like using the daylights out of it because it's plumping, it's gorgeous. It's just a really like flawless formula to me. And she was like, yeah, sure, we'll start working on it now. And like, again, didn't hear about it at all until they all arrived on my doorstep. And I just cried, you know, because Thrive is just amazing. They've been with me through. And again, this is one of those things where y'all's feedback means the world to me, and everybody has been so pleased with how deftly this was handled, how well it turned out. And again, there's no scarcity. There's none of the like, do you get it now or you'll, you know what I mean? Like, I never wanted to do that with my old releases. And again, this isn't technically a collab. It's just an honor, but it's not going anywhere. It does have a subtle kind of minty plump, and I obviously don't find it to be uncomfortable. I really, really like the formula, but it doesn't redden the lips like at all. Okay, the only thing I feel like this look is missing is just a touch more bronzer situation. So I'm gonna find my trusty rusty, my Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, so I have my Film Star Bronze and Glow that I've had for literal years at this point, and I only use this color. Did I already buy it? I can't remember if I've checked out or not, but regardless, I'm buying the old pan of just the regular contour powder from Natasha Denona off of Beautylish because I just realized that it still exists and I love that thing. And it's like, I don't need to buy a 2-pan that I'm only going to use one side of when I go to replace this. I can just go back to the contour that I know and love because it went out of stock for so long I thought that they discontinued it, but they did end up restocking it. So I think that that helped. It's just kind of anchoring everything a little bit in terms of depth. Very, very pretty. And then are we like are we too shiny anywhere or anything? I do want to add like a little bit more of that very, very pretty like pinky blushy color. And then we'll go through my brows with something clear. I'm gonna use a little bit of my Laura Mercier powder here, the one that I love so much, the one that's completely invisible, and I'm just going to use that to like take down any unwanted shine underneath my eyes right now. Yeah, it just kind of balances everything out so that the light isn't reflecting on my under eyes. Wow, okay, wow, there we have it. I really like this. I really think that this is very, very pretty. Let's chat final thoughts on the stuff that was new today. We'll start with the Chanel palette here. This is absolutely gorgeous, and while I do love a Chanel fantasy, I don't think this is like a run, do not walk situation. It's really, really pretty. It is, but they say you can use it on your eyes and it doesn't really do anything on your eyes. It's so subtle. It really is just like the Hourglass powders that look like this, but it's just like 4 of them. There's no differentiation in terms of like, are you getting more saturation for a blush, or are you getting like a finishing powder, or are you getting a bronzer or something like that? Like, there are so many other options when it comes to an Hourglass palette that I would recommend an Hourglass palette over this. So So I feel like that's kind of what they were going for, but Hourglass has just been doing this for so long that they really, really get it. And honestly, yes, the colors are different, maybe, but at the same time, I find, again, like this one, this is the Dragon, like that's so fair that I think that you could get all of the same kind of colors out of this and it would be much more useful. Again, I don't know what's sold out and what's not. I'm pretty sure that these are sold out, but that doesn't mean that you can't get an Hourglass palette. You know what I mean? There are Hourglass palettes out there. So yeah, while it's pretty and it's kind of fascinating to have something this large in a Chanel compact, I don't think I have anything that large in a Chanel compact, but like it's pretty, but the fantasy is not there. The Ami Cole eyeshadows, these are very pretty if you like a liquid eyeshadow. They're really, really easy to work with. And obviously, I think that the colors are well conceived, at least the two that I tried here, Harlem and Bed-Stuy, because they are pretty much two different versions of Cinnamon from Bobbi Brown, which I love to no end. And while these are lovely in terms of their formula, I just find the whole experience to just be kind of like excessively fussy. To have to put it on the back of my hand and everything like that when I could just work straight from the top of an eyeshadow stick when I would get exactly the same results. And I also feel like, you know, that doesn't even feel like drugstore. That feels like a lab sample. Sorry, Ami Cole. Something good to say! My nose is running. I have really nice things to say about the Couture Mini Clutch here from YSL. You know, this is very much a springy, Valentine's-y kind of concept. And after all of the weirdness and all of the like, we're either getting things that are so derivative or they are things that are being thrown at the wall without reason from makeup companies. It's nice to get something that is a true variation on a theme that didn't exist before that also happens to stand up to the same level of quality and usability and fun that I got from all of the other YSL Couture Mini Clutch quads. I just think that it's really, really lovely. So if you have been waiting on a colorway like this, a purple colorway that is really, really usable, obviously like if I'm neutral and it's a little bit cool, I would say that these are some of the warmest like purples that I've ever had, that it just makes it so usable that if you have been waiting for this kind of colorway to come through on the YSL quads and you were just waiting for someone that you trusted to try it, I will say this is not just, you know, perfect in the sense of I love their formulas, but I feel like they did a really, really good job making the choices on these colors, their undertone, the depth, just the usability, the amount of pigment. I feel like anybody could get use out of this. And this isn't new, but I just wanted to let y'all know and I wanted to apply it on camera and you're gonna see a lot more of it too. Again, this is not something where I'm trying to hammer home some kind of time-sensitive collab that I did with a brand. Like this isn't going anywhere. There's no rush. You don't need to buy it just to support me. You know what I mean? I just happen to be excited about it because somebody made the perfect lip product for me, okay? Like this combo is perfect. And so that's why you're gonna be seeing it a lot, is because it's like an excellent default for me. This is a really great present lip color that does not clash with anything. It just goes. It just goes, and I love it. I hope you'll enjoy this first video back. We have some more stuff on the way. I have that Dolce & Gabbana quad coming. The NARS 9 pan is already here, and I'm gonna compare this eventually to the Dolce & Gabbana and the one that I have on my eyeballs today, but we're gonna do them one at a time. In the meantime, I also have the new under eye correctors from Kosas, which I have some thoughts on, and there will be many, many other cool things coming down the line, and also some curriculum, some color theory, all that kind of stuff. So if you enjoyed this, please do give the video a thumbs up. If all of that sounded interesting to you and you're not already subscribed, subscribe while you are here. I will put a video here that I think you'll enjoy if you liked this one. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.